Hey everyone, it is me, E, and welcome back to my channel. It's been a long time since you guys have heard my voice rather than just reading subtitles, but I'm back for a quick voiceover video. And today I'm talking about Haikyuu still. I'm still into Haikyuu these days. I'm in a Haikyuu pit. I believe the kids these days call it brain rot. I have Haikyuu brain rot. The show lives in my head, quote-unquote, rent-free, as they say. You get it. I've been doodling fan art and rewatching clips of the show and listening to my favorite opening theme songs. Season 3 is the best in my opinion, and a bunch of other stuff. Fan art, whatever. One of my favorite elements of the story of Haikyuu is the development of the friendship between characters Tsukishima and Yamaguchi. Like, they've known each other since they were kids, but I get the sense that their friendship, at least initially, is sort of imbalanced. At the beginning of the show, Yamaguchi comes off like a lackey rather than a true friend, and through flashbacks we learn that their relationship began with Tsukishima inadvertently saving Yamaguchi from bullies. And from there, it seems like Yamaguchi kind of worships him, and this attitude continues as we see them on screen for the first time. Yamaguchi's like bragging about how tall Tsukishima is, and Tsukishima's half-heartedly mocking him for it. And they have this kind of pattern of Tsukishima telling Yamaguchi to shut up and Yamaguchi apologizing. We get glimpses of the fact that their friendship isn't totally one-sided though. For example, Yamaguchi has a nickname for him, which is Suki, and Tsukishima doesn't let anyone else call him that. And they frequently make fun of their other teammates together. They walk to and from school together, and it seems like Tsukishima waits until they part ways before using his headphones. They have matching school bags, and Yamaguchi's actually able to convince Tsukishima to tutor the other first-year teammates. So it's not totally one-sided. However, I think that Tsukishima doesn't really have much respect for Yamaguchi until he yells at him during the week-long training camp in Tokyo. Yamaguchi basically tells him off for having been apathetic and for having no pride in his performance, and Tsukishima finally acknowledges how cool Yamaguchi has become. After this event and the next time that Yamaguchi chews him out, they seem closer. In the yet unadapted manga chapters, we see more glimpses of their friendship, and they seem to be more open and happy around each other. I'm obviously not going to spoil anything for the people who only watch the anime and don't read the manga, but yeah, it seems like after the events of the Tokyo training camp arc and after the Shiratorizawa game of season 3, that their relationship is strong and they just seem like friends. They don't have this sort of imbalanced relationship anymore where Tsukishima is the leader and Yamaguchi's the follower. And I think that their friendship out of any other relationship in the whole series is probably the best developed. You could argue that the other two first years, Hinata and Kageyama, have a similarly well-developed relationship, but I think at least in terms of what we've seen adapted in the anime, Tsukishima and Yamaguchi's is the best. So enough about the show. I actually want to talk about the art. So in the past on this channel, I've discussed hyperrealism and how I don't really care for it, at least personally. For one thing, I'm not that good at it. But for another thing, I feel like photography accomplishes the same effect as hyperrealism, but obviously better. And through photo editing, you can achieve basically whatever look that you want. And so for this reason, I'm not a big fan of hyperrealism. And again, I'm not that good at it. I feel like it's very hard to master. And if you fall short of achieving hyperrealism, it's like you can't just get close with it. If you are close but not exact, it looks really off. It's like an uncanny valley type of thing. But what I've done in this video is a sort of like quasi semi-realistic approach to portraiture, and I actually think it turned out really cool. So basically what I've done is I used a combination of, reference images from the actual show, the 2D character, and references of real life people, and combined them and sort of made this quasi-realistic portrait that's not exactly based on any one particular person. So I've created this totally unique image. So it's not like I'm trying to perfectly mimic or capture a photograph. I'm creating something new. And I think it's really satisfying. I think I achieved a unique result. Of course, there are websites like Art Breeder, which uses AI to produce realistic portraits based off of, cartoon characters. I've never used the service, but I've seen people sharing their Art Breeder portraits online, and they're really cool and realistic looking. But I think that they do kind of look like AI produced portraiture. They don't look like something that somebody painted or something that somebody created on their own. And I like the freedom of interpretation that this method grants me. And of course I'm imperfect and I have my complaints about how these turned out, but I had way more fun painting these than I've had with art in general for a while. I used to do realism when I was younger, like when I was like a freshman in high school, freshman, sophomore. I like to do realism because it was the first time that I felt like I was always told like, oh, you're good at drawing or whatever. But it was the first time I felt like, oh no, I actually am good at drawing. I can draw a person and capture their likeness in a realistic portrait. But, as I got older, I started to become more and more disappointed with my results. Initially it's like, wow, I'm really good. I can make it look like somebody. But as the more you go on, you realize your shortcomings more and more. But I think that realism is something that I used to enjoy, and by doing this sort of method where it's not total realism, I think I've kind of recaptured my joy for art, at least in this project. So in this video, I drew Tsukishima first and Yamaguchi second, but in real life I actually drew the Yamaguchi portrait first. And for some reason, it always turns out this way. If I'm doing a series of portraits or a series of drawings, the first one is like lightning in a bottle. I crank it out really quickly and it turns out really good. And I think, oh, this makes me want to do another one. And then the second one takes twice as long and turns out half as good. And that happens every single time. So that's why I reversed the order in this video and showed Tsukishima first, because I kind of wanted to save the best for last. But I still like the way the Tsukishima portrait turned out. I just think that it doesn't look quite as much like a real person as the Yamaguchi one does. And again, I used a real person for reference for the Tsukishima portrait, but I think that even if you looked on Pinterest at East Asian male portrait reference, you would not be able to figure out whose portrait I used as reference for this Tsukishima. Or maybe you could. I'd be interested to see if anybody could try and figure out what model I used for reference for Tsukishima. But I changed enough things about his appearance that I think it's not super obvious. Obviously, big thing being his hair. And that's actually, I think, what took me the longest and what made my Tsukishima portrait take so much longer than my Yamaguchi one, is I just languished with Tsukishima's hair forever. In 2D, I think it's fairly easy to capture the idea of someone having like kind of curly hair with a few simple lines. But if you're doing it realistically, it's very, very difficult. So Tsukishima has a lot of texture to his hair, and I was trying to capture the texture of his hair, but it's hard to capture texture and make the lighting look realistic on it. And like I said, I feel like I just struggled a lot with the hair. In the end, I like how fluffy it looks, but I feel like it doesn't look quite curly enough. The other thing that I struggled with was his glasses, and you can see that I wound up using a PNG file and kind of more or less traced over it. Like, I altered the perspective on it because his face is kind of in 7/8 or 3/4 perspective. So I sort of altered the PNG file and traced over it and then added lighting to the glasses. But glasses are very difficult to draw, and if you've ever drawn them yourself, you'll know that that's true. But anyway, I really do enjoy how this one turned out, and I hope that you guys enjoyed hearing my voice again. It's been a while. I guess I feel kind of shy about it, but I like how this video turned out and how these portraits turned out, and I wanted to talk about things and not make you guys read a bunch of text, so that's what I did. So I'm going to leave you here, and you can just watch the Yamaguchi part without my commentary, but I very much appreciate you guys watching my videos and commenting and subscribing and all that kind of stuff. Even though I've taken a huge step back from YouTube in the last several months, I've still enjoyed uploading videos on a kind of a monthly basis, and I've still gotten new subscribers, which is really cool. So I stopped making videos around the time that I hit 110 subscribers, and I've gathered another 50 since then. And that's really cool, and I'm thankful to all the new people who've subscribed to my channel, and I still intend to continue making videos. And I won't always do voiceovers because it does take a lot of effort, and it kind of, you know, tests your shyness, I guess. But I will continue to make videos, and I appreciate everybody who's watched my videos so far. And like I said, I'll leave you here. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!